back to that story, Sonny. Just, just you listen to Boomer Great One. He's going to tell you about how it was back in the olden days, back before fire, back when we walked uphill for everything. In fact, we didn't even have a concept of downhill because there was no downhill. Everything was uphill. We thought that was normal. We didn't even have a word for it because there was no alternative. It was uphill all the time. You just need to reach down and grab yourselves by your bootstraps and pull yourselves up, Sonny. Because when I was your age, I bought a house for $25,000. And I made that money on my paper route and bussing tables at the local cafe. And if I could do it, you can do it too. You just need to reach down and pull yourself up and just buckle up there, buckaroo. God, I hate boomers.
I apologize if this meanders a bit. I'm trying to make kind of a larger point, so just bear with me. We'll trudge through it together. We're all gonna suffer with them. Cappy's got a cold, even though I don't sound like it. So, I was listening to David Cullen, and I linked to his YouTube channel down below. He's one of those nerd podcast channels I listen to, and he analyzes and reviews movies and games and things like that. But he has a little more philosophical take on it than others. And there was one video he was talking about where he was lamenting how the younger generations, and by that, well, we're all here, so we all got to suffer it, but specifically Zoomers and Millennials, the younger generations, like, you ain't got no culture. I don't mean you don't have there's no culture for you to enjoy. Everything's a reboot. Everything's a remake. They're all shit compared to the originals. All your cultural, whether it's movies or books or video games or whatever else have you, is tainted with leftist politics. And he just, like, I guess everybody else, not only does he lament the fact that there's shit products out there and you don't really have any, like, you don't have your Ghostbusters. You don't have, dude, I remember I was 10 years old and our old man took us to see, when he come visit, he took us to see Back to the Future. Oh, he saw that in the theater like 6 times. I think he was okay with it because if it hit the dollar, we used to have dollar movie nights. Oh, yeah, things were more affordable back then. But you guys, free money because socialism. Why are things so exciting? We had dollar theaters. We called it welfare night. You go see a movie that had been out for months. It had its run, and then like Tuesday, it'd be some off night. Ask old people; they'll tell you. We saw Back to the Future like at least 6 times in the theater, at least. And we had, Transformers, and you guys in the 90s generation came after me. You guys, let's see how in between Gen X and Millennial you are. Gargoyles, do you remember that? The generation after you guys had the anime flood come in, notably with One Piece Pirates and why can't I remember it? Dragon Ball Z. You had that. We had Batman, the original animated series. It was great. And then past God, at least 10, if more like 20 years, certainly 15. You guys don't, where's your Back to the Future? Where's your Knight Rider? Where's your Starsky and Hutch? All you got is remakes. And you got shitty remakes as well. And what prompted my like, oh my God, I've seen it's an important point to make about humanity, whether or not you're going to have a culture to enjoy. David Niven, that's an actor. David Cullen also talked about J.R.L. Tolkien and how he suffered through, I think it was World War I, one of the wars. I'm pretty sure it was World War I, and I believe his son died early, so he had to bury his son. And so this guy had tremendous suffering. He mentioned another author who went through tremendous suffering. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he speculated that this suffering, these life experiences, led these men to create great works of books, which were then turned into movies, that we could all enjoy. And I've always kicked around that concept and the idea that you cannot, just so you know, There can be no accomplishment. There can be no progress or achievement without suffering. You need to work. I don't mean suffering like you're getting shot in war, though that too. But you want to build a house, you're going to have to work for it, either working up the money to pay for it or doing the work yourself. You want a nice maintained yard, you're going to have to do it yourself. You want a car that's maintained, you're going to have to do it yourself. If you want to write a book and it's going to be a good one, you're going to have to put in the work. But then there's also suffering through life. And built into life is a standard universal human experience, or there used to be, called hunger, cold, starvation, and homelessness. And that's nature trying to kill you. Nature, all of humanity has been humankind trying to prevent nature from killing it. That's basically it. And we've gotten pretty good at it too. Got pretty darn good at it. You know, we fought off disease, and I mean, we all inevitably lose to nature. Inevitably, we die. But we've more than doubled life expectancies. We've drastically improved our standards of living. And I'd say I was probably the last of a generation where you actually had to tighten your belts. I've told you guys many times before about how I dropped down to 118 pounds because I had no help from parents, no help from government, because white male, and fuck all of you, by the way. Not you guys. I'm talking to all the people like, well, you don't need any help. You'll land on your feet. Oh, I want to hurt people. Well, you're smart. You'll figure it out. I hope you die alone, painfully and confused in a nursing home with orderlies and people who don't change your bedpan. And I can't say what else I hope happens to you people, but I hope the total where it's like, you know, you wonder where this charming personality of mine comes from. And let me, you know, not bragging, but let's just be accurate. I have somewhat of a colorful personality, right? He's got a little different bend to him. You wouldn't call it a charm, but he's got personality, right? That didn't come from being a pampered little suburbanite bitch in Edina. That came through hard trials and tribulations. And I've observed over time, I hate to say it, I really fucking hate to say it, but our good buddy Atham, the reason Atham and I get along so well, like he's almost a lost twin brother of mine who happens to be Mexican and 6 foot tall, the bastard. He went through tremendous suffering as well. Poverty, hunger. Him and his don't go into the stuff. He's gone down the path. He's done the hard work. He has suffered. And as I've painted the analogy before, you can't get steel until you take raw, what's the word? Not unfiltered, impure iron. And you melt it. You put it through a galvanizing forge. You melt it. You reforge it. You purge its impurities. And then the strongest steel is forged in the hottest of fires. I didn't come up with that saying. I'm sure someone said that long ago. That's how you get experience. That's how you get personality. That's how you build character. But I mean, they all made fun of it. Calvin and Hobbes Calvin would have to do some kind of painful chore. And his dad would always say it builds character. He wasn't fucking wrong. Bill Watterson or Bill Patterson, he wasn't wrong. And when you say, okay, so these people, they've suffered, they've endured, they've gone through hardships, they've lived life. We used to have that. We don't really have that anymore. Now you got a welfare state, you got every type of government aid, nothing's your fault, we remove responsibility. And so I'm not saying Gen X was the world's greatest inventors. Anyway, by the way, I mean, we're kind of in charge now, and we've produced kind of jack shit. But it's kind of curious how we've removed all the suffering and the pain and the agony. And surprise, we don't have any good cultural works coming out. Like, I post Billie Eilish and Lizzo, but there's Nicki Minaj or whatever her name is. The movies, it's all shit. I mean, if it's not a remake or it's still shit. There's nothing new, whether it's music or this or that. I know it's subjective. I know there's an opinion. Well, there's actually really some good music. I haven't heard. I haven't seen. I don't care. I don't need to hear another country song about somebody's grandma getting shot from the back of the pickup truck. I don't need to hear another fucking piece of shit rap song that sounds like literally every other rap song in the world. There's Run DMC, Beastie Boys, debatable if they're a rap or not, George Clinton, predecessor with funk, and then Cypress Hill. I'm sure there might be others, but it's all shit. It's all after that, it's all shit. I don't care. Same fucking shit. And so when you look at like, God damn, man, what do you guys got? No wonder you're all so fucking depressed. No wonder you're miserable. And I got to sitting thinking, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Okay, the current culture, you guys, okay, so my generation, we got to enjoy the culture that was created by what I got to imagine was World War II and boomers. And yeah, okay, boomers come on, baby, light my fire. Some of them did go off to Vietnam. They predated the welfare state. They actually did have to do without, if you look at 1950s budget. But I'd say Gen X, they're the first kind of pampered generation. So we benefited from generations previously that suffered. And now you guys, the people creating your works, are kind of shit. And I looked this up just to give you an example. This is just one. But I looked up the She-Hulk writers. All right off the bat, let's just show us how lazy this all is. We're going to take an already existing. Can't create. Has there anything been created new? Have you guys had one new thing? Or is it like, hey, look at this thing from 50 years ago. Oh my God, add vagina and feminism, which is what She-Hulk is. Have you had one? I mean, think of the creativity it took to come up with Knight Rider or the A-Team or Ghostbusters or Back to the Future. What do you got? I mean, really, John Wick, maybe. Okay. I'll go along with that, but there's not like a really creative, hey, let's get a bunch of blue collar guys. We're going to put proton packs on the back and they're going to accidentally save the world. So here's what you got now. I looked up the writers of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And right off the bat, you know what I noticed about 2 out of those 3 of them they list? I'm sure there were more. But we got Jessica Gao, Melissa Hunter, and Dana Schwartz. 2 out of 3 are fat. I'm sorry, if you're fat, you don't have a hard life. You're not tightening your belt. You didn't go through trials and tribulations. And if you haven't seen or heard or watched it, She-Hulk was a bomb. It was horrible. And if we go in, okay, so Jessica Gao, 1984, born 40. I want to know what is the background. I'll maybe not get a background. Lab rats. Is there any? Yeah, it's going to be hard to find it because they're not that big of people. Okay, after winning Writer Fellowship in 2006, so she was. I'm just saying there's really no. She didn't serve in Iraq, right? Some millennials that did, but she did serve in Iraq. She probably came from a privileged background where you could afford to go be a television cartoon writer. Shoot, I lost the other ones here. Hang on. She-Hulk writers. Melissa Hunter. Basically no real world working. Began her career making way too many videos doing live comedy. Okay, so you obviously, stand-up comics, you either have rich parents or you're working a nighttime job to do that. I've made this point before roughly about She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but anything else coming out more recently with whether it's the Acolyte, so anything out of Disney, anything that has been recent, modern, and a remake, sure, fine, there's Girl Boss. Pain in the ass, nobody likes it. Yes, there's the lack of the hero's journey. No, there's no writing or good character building. And yes, there's leftist politics. But the movies themselves or the television or the video games themselves are also shit. These people have been brought up to think the way they were born, that's the most important thing in leftist politics, which I'll get to later. Like, that's what makes a good show. And because they didn't endure and suffer and have to, they haven't lived the life of a normal person. I guarantee you, if we went through everyone who's making these products today, all right, not your indie makers who might, like Kevin Savo, who actually does suffer and pay for things out of his own pocket. All right. He'll make something much more deep and something much more enjoyable. But these people who have had the privilege of being able to have mom and dad pay for a fucking bullshit career in Hollywood, they're privileged. And they don't know the human experience. They've never suffered. They've never had to worry about rent. They didn't have to worry about, geez, I remember one time, I've never technically been homeless, but there was a time I was moving in between one apartment and another, and there was like a week and a half spread. And so I had keys to a room when I was working security. I just crashed on the couch for a week, had my meager possessions with me. Okay, did that suck? Yeah, but it's a story. Makes you think about the value of a dollar. These people, they have no idea what the human experience is, how hunger, pain, starvation, threat, worry, the instability of life, how that wears on you. And then when you find a $20 bill, you're excited, you know, on the ground, and the trials that you ask the girl out, she says yes, and then you get all ready, and then you're excited, you're looking forward to a week, and then she stands you up. They don't have that experience. They're just like, oh, do I eat the ding dong or the ho ho? Mommy, daddy, I'm hungry. Seriously, I know it seems like a cheap thing to point out, but if you're fat, fuck off. Don't tell me you suffered. Don't tell me times were tough. Don't tell me you have anywhere near the experiences that I do. You know, they're not human. They couldn't, and this gets to the whole point of why these movies suck, aside from the political, trait-based politics and shit like that. They're not human. They won't know how to write a good story that would appeal to the audience ever. I mean, I'll give you another one. They really think having fat, ugly black women as cartoon characters, or I guess video game characters, they really think having flamboyant gay guys on Concord, they actually think the same people who thought, hey, you know, the Calvin Klein models, they used to have really good looking people on. Yeah, we're going to have a guy who claims to be pregnant posing with an equally ugly girl, both posing shirtless, and the guy's wearing a diaper. Go look it up. They actually think that. That's somebody who's never lived in the real world. The people behind that, show me someone who had so much of daddy's money shoved up their ass, they are completely inoculated from the rest of the world. And I'm not saying you have to go through the trenches of World War I and lose a son to go and create good pieces of culture. But if you have life on easy mode, you never had to work hard at anything. They're so lazy. They're so shielded from the real world. They've never had to really actually work or try hard at anything, that they can't even come up with original ideas, just rewriting, rehashing, rebooting, redoing. And then they got their tools in their tool chest. There's only a couple of them. And like, okay, DEI, okay, transition swap, whether it's gender, race, sex, it doesn't matter. OMG, girlfriend, tee-hee. The Acolyte? Holy fucking shit. I'm sorry, young generation. I'm sorry they did that to you. In the olden days, for $250 million, which is what Disney spent on that, or I think $200 million, in the olden days, that would have gotten you some spectacular fucking movies. That would have gotten you some spectacular fucking video games. And now you just got, geez, surprise, the same political brainwashing horseshit you got in school and college is now in your fun. And you can't call it fun anymore because it ain't fun. Because these people aren't humans. They're NPCs, and all they know is the handful of tools they got. Well, swap that out for this. Say, oh, she's a girl boss. Hey, feminism. Or leftist politics in general. And that's what concerns me and brings about my question, is whether or not Zoomers and Millennials are ever going to have great culture works. Because not only for you to enjoy, but going down the road, is your generation going to create anything good? Are you guys going to have anything that isn't total horseshit? Not only for you guys to enjoy at that moment in time you're living in your generation, but for future generations to enjoy down the road. And when you look at it, there's like basically two main things that are keeping you guys from enduring that suffering, enduring the hardship, having that human experience, and the universal experience of self-supportation, of you never defeat nature, but putting it at bay so you can live another day. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but you have some good times with low interest. I know things seem hard. You were lied to. There's no doubt about that. That is a pain, and maybe that is your journey. Maybe that is your suffering, the confusion. But like I said, we're going to find out this election cycle if the millennials have learned their lesson. Right? Hey, wait a second. All the people that told us a lie were leftists. Hey, or if you're going to double down on your cult-like religion of socialism and leftism and all that. But aside from that, yes, there is some suffering through being lied to. But dude, I've never really. Nothing's your fault. It's autism or ADHD. A lot of this is your folks' fault. I'm not even saying this is your fault. I'm just saying, look at how there's no responsibility. Look at how, oh no, here's some food. Here's some EBT. Student loan forgiveness. What the fuck was that? We didn't have that. I mean, I guess my generation actually could get it, but I paid off my student loans. Yeah, there's a perfect example. Take somebody who worked another job to pay off the student loans, and then take the standard, not human NPC who's been bitching and whining for 15 years about the student loans and never pays it off. Who's the more interesting person? Who's going to be able to come up with more creative ideas and works of art and culture that will relate to other human beings? And so student loan bailouts, we're entitled to this victimhood mentality. That's what you've been taught. You've been taught. You've had life on relative easy mode, although being lied to not so much in different ways. We didn't get stimmy check. Now, okay, everyone got stimmy. I didn't get stimmy check. Everyone got stimmy checks under Trump, Republican, by the way, which contradictory, but never mind. Because there was admittedly, a really bad cold going on. We spent the same amount of money on stimmy checks, percentage of GDP that we did World War II. We were finding some pretty fucking bad shit World War II, and it was global. I guess it was a global thing too. My point is, whether you believe it or not, you've had it pretty damn easy. I know you've been lied to, but man, there's never been so much government help. There's never been so much abdication of responsibility. It's not your fault. It's this disease. It's not your fault. It's that. The scapegoats that are conveniently made are you, and the trait-based politics that come with it. You're this trait: blue eyes, Hispanic, gender, sexual preference. Well, then the other people who aren't that are oppressing you. Fuck off with that shit. Holy shit. Holy whining Batman. And I've said this before, and maybe this is where I guess there's two areas that Zoomers and millennials would suffer, and your cultural creators will come from that, but it's going to be maybe a little bit wild because there has been a tremendous amount of suffering. But first, I've always said, if I had to listen to a therapist, I'm not listening to Madison, 25-year-old Madison, who just got her master's in psychology from Middlebury. I'm not listening to an idiot who has no real world experience. I won't listen to a girl, right? Unless she was in war, which, okay. And I'm not listening to some young person who has no real world experience and has never supported themselves. Shut the fuck up. I don't care if you got all A's in your psychology program. Fuck off. It's not a real subject anyway. How's that whole treating that autism and Asperger's thing going along? Yeah. Oh, no, you totally didn't overdiagnose it so that Big Pharma could make. Yeah, sure. No, it's totally legit. Yeah, you're right. Related back to the psychologist, the only psychologist I'm talking to is some pissed off, grizzled Vietnam veteran, or perhaps the first Gulf War veteran. I'll talk to some pissed off old man who has suffered and endured, who incidentally happens to have a certification or his degree in psychology, because that person has suffered. That person can relate to you. Bipsy, the suburbanite princess, whose daddy paid for a degree in psychology, like, oh my God, I just want to help people. Those are the same fucking people who are in charge now creating all the current culture you got. Hey, let's have a fat, loud black woman play a flute. Oh yeah, that'd be great. Have her be, let's find the most disgusting fat shot value gal, and we're going to put her in lingerie. Everyone fell for it. I mean, we had professional wrestling and we fell for it, but we were like 6 years old at the time. Just in case you guys were wondering. You were told to like her. She was told to be edgy. Anyway, I'm not listening to someone unless, frankly, they went to war. I haven't been to war. I'll admit that. I have my own personal trials and tribulations. But there's two groups of area where your cultural artists, I think, will come from. One, it would be the Iraqi and Afghan vets. There's some millennials out there that definitely have suffered. And then I think the Zoomers and also the millennials, the lies, the confusion and the psychological hell you've gone through, that might be your galvanizing process. That might be your suffering, where at the end of it, you come out like galvanized steel. But I'll be honest with you, you are suffering. You know you were lied to. It is incredibly painful. It's very confusing. You're financially crippled because you all went to college. The question, though, is whether it's kind of like AIDS, anti-immune deficiency. If you don't know about AIDS, basically, it's very hard to cure. They could treat it now, but the reason it's so hard to cure is to detect your immune system, compromise your ability to fight off essentially itself. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Some virologist will tell me what it is in the real world. Look, you've all been brainwashed. You've all been brainwashed in K through college to be Democrats and leftists and socialists. And more beyond just voting Democrat, like that's your fucking life philosophy. That's your religion. That's your value. Look at how many of you are told that the most important thing of you is the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King Jr. was saying. Content of character versus color of skin. No, you got it all wrong. It's the color of skin or your gender or I like licking this genitalia or I identify as whatever. They have you, that's how far it's gone. They got you actually thinking that it's not what you do or whether you're good at something or whether you've achieved excellence for everyone to enjoy. Nope, it's the way you were born. And if you're not a millionaire, well, it's the fucking other people who don't share your traits that are keeping you oppressed. Vote for me. Why is our lives shit? And I don't know what else you got. Oh, were you all going to save the planet? Were you going to be goody two shoes? I call them Jessica and Jason Christ because they're all going to, Jessica and Jason Christ, they were all told, I remember in high school, they're going to save the planet. Our days, it was like, oh, actually, I remember when it was global cooling. Then they switched it to global warming. And then it was, well, it's always been help the whales and environmentalism. Environmentalism that was the big thing. And now it's just, well, you're going to save the planet. Global warming, poverty, minorities, whatever else. And as long as you advocate that, you're a good person. You're a good person. Fucking doing Adderall, sitting on your ass playing video games. Oh, but I said I did the right thing. Never asking about the practicality of a leftist socialist economic model. And that's why I'm wondering, are you gonna be able to buck that? Are you gonna realize that these are the same people that the life you're living now is because you followed that game plan, you followed that playbook? Are you going to be able to give up but I'm a good person. I vote for the right thing that the teachers and the professors and the media told me to. Or are you actually going to go out and achieve and become a good person? You all been suffering. You all been lying. Like, look, look how far they got you guys think. Look at how fucked up. Think I'm wrong? You think I'm some crazy Rush Limbaugh conservative? I'm a libertarian. They actually want to get you to think that fat women are attractive. That's how fucking far off they are. And that there's very few of you got the balls to say, I don't like fat chicks. Like, I could say it all the time because I don't like fat chicks. No one really does. I mean, we don't hate you personally, but we don't find you attractive. And ironically, with Lizzo up there, Lizzo's going through a weight loss program. Oh my God. You mean the media lies and the horse shit they fed up that you made, you know what? God bless her. Maybe she realized, dude, if I don't lose the weight, I'm going to die. And all these millions of dollars I made ain't going to be worth it. And I'm not personally happy with my life right now. So God bless her. And I hope she loses a lot of weight. But here's the question. Are you going to have that realization? Are you going to have that epiphany? Holy shit, we were lied to. And are you going to save it in the last 4 innings of the game? Are you going to save it in the second half? Are you going to realize this was all a lie? And then start asking questions like, okay, well, what is good? What can we do in terms of accomplishment? There would be some creative cultural geniuses coming out of that. There would be. But not when you're handicapped with essentially, it's not even a religion or a life philosophy, a cult-like mental illness of victimhood and helplessness. where he's just nothing's my fault. I see a lot kind of not everyone's going to be a cultural creative genius. I'm sure most people are like, well, I'm not motivated to go work and bust my ass off. I don't feel like writing. I'm not a creative guy. I do see a lot of people, younger guys, millennials and Zoomers saying, fuck it. I'm traveling the world. No, I'm wholly rejecting the lies and the bullshit you were told. Like, oh, you got to go to college. You got to get a good degree. Oh, you got to vote Democrat. Otherwise, you're a horrible, disgusting person. You should like fat chicks. Why aren't people getting married? Buy a car, bro. That corporatism, that marketing consumerism is still there. Dude, bro, girls, you need your bag. I've always loved that on its base operating system, most young people have leftism, socialism, victimhood, parasitism, envy as their operating life philosophy, their operating system. But then you all want these very conservative, or not conservative, that's wrong. These capitalist and materialist things. Girls still want their bag. Like, what do you need a $15,000 bag for? Should you be donating that to the poor? You guys still want your fancy car. I'd be curious if anyone's gonna wake up. You're real curious what when the voting comes in and they do the polling. Where did the millennials go? Did you wake up? Did you find out who was lying to you this entire time? And when you followed their advice, what happened to you? I mean, come on, San Francisco, that wasn't Republican, conservative, libertarian policies are there. You got adult people shitting in the streets, people stealing shit. That wasn't Ronald Reagan. I'll just let you know. And this isn't a commercial to vote Republican. It isn't. I'm just trying to make, hey, do you realize the reason you're in a shit life right now is because of the advice of the people that lied to you, but you're going to vote for them or their policies just because that's the only philosophical value you have in life? Like, when do you wake up? When do you become like Tom Cruise in Operation Valkyrie and you try to bump off the guy with the funny mustache? We realize, oh, this is all wrong. This is horrible. This is bad. We got to stop this evil guy. He's crazy. I'm not saying to do an assassination attempt. I'm just saying, when do you realize you were lied to? And when do you salvage the remainder of your life making decisions that are based in the real world? Some of which, through this trial and tribulation and this mental journey, you might write a book. You might do some kind of creative work. And I'm kind of curious that my money's all on the millennial veterans. I'm pretty, and Lord knows there might actually be some books out there and some Hollywood ain't going to fund it. That's for sure. There's a whole other argument there. Well, the industry itself is so co-opted and politically motivated. Good old fashioned war films or whatever is going to be made anymore. You're right about that. But that's why I'm wondering, like, going forward, are you guys going to have your Beethoven? Because all you got right now is emo-y Billie Eilish and Fat Lizzo, who retired. Oh, there's others. There are other people you were told that the popular thing to listen to and do. I think, but Zoomers are an interesting. They're just fully checking out, man. Like, I'm not going to concerts. They're having trouble. I think a couple places that canceled their concerts. Hey, popular person, we told you to spend $200 a ticket for. Zoom was like, fuck that. Hey, go to college kids, men are like, fuck that. You girls still fall for that bullshit. I'm sorry. You're still getting hoodwinked by it. Don't worry, 5 years from now, you'll graduate, you won't have a job. Student loan bailout. Whose advice did you follow? It's the Republicans in the Senate. Whose advice did you follow? Oh, leftist, socialist, Marxist teachers and professors? All right. But yeah, I'm wondering. Now, the good news is, whether or not these cultural works come, we've had generations before us who actually did suffer and they did come up with great creative works. I mean, and they're almost limitless, and they're from other cultures. I'm going to be going on a Japanese classic movie binge here. A couple people gave me some ideas. I got a list. But for those of you who are younger, dude, I could come up with a movie list that'll last you at least a year. You should watch the spaghetti westerns. Damn near all of them. Some aren't the greatest, some are, but there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. For a fistful of dollars, few dollars more. Duck Your Sucker, Once Upon a Time in the West, and the Trinity series. Those are great. Terrence, Bud Spencer and Terrence Hill. They did more than spaghetti westerns. Those you should watch those. Those are funny. Die Hard 1 and 2. I'll guess Die Hard 3. Midnight Run, The Guns of Navarone, all those World War II movies. You can read old books if you're a weirdo and like sit in one place looking at words because you didn't do enough of that in school, apparently. Apparently, that's the thing. People like, Vince over at Masculine, I like to sit and curl up with the book. You're fucking weird. There's plenty of old school movies, books, and music. And yeah, okay, your culture, your generations aren't going to create anything, or they're going to create something, but it's going to be the same remake, reboot, uninventive, unoriginal horse shit that my generation basically has been making. Yeah, I can understand. Oh my God, people aren't going to the movies anymore. Because I'll tell you this, your free time, disposable income is the most important economic metric because that determines the amount of fun you have ultimately. And culture, I mean, after you're done working in economics and law and all the boring other aspects of society, then there should be culture. What can we enjoy? Even culture. I remember dancing, going salsa dancing and swing dancing. That was great. Now it's here in pockets and there in pockets, but not universally common. Which is a lot of reason why people go overseas, visit other cultures. They have culture. Go to the whatever festival they got going on in Thailand. Go over there. Go where people are proud of their heritage. Because I'm sick and tired of the emo shit, leftist corporate government made slop that's coming out. I don't consume it. I don't got time for it. So there you go. Link below. The hell do I have link below? How not to become a millennial. All right. No, it's not an anti-millennial book. Maybe y'all should read it first before you see it's an anti-millennial book. It goes through all the lies you've been told, how it's fucking up your life, and how to get out of that. Okay. I think the Zoomers, by the way, you've been told the exact same lies. Plus, hey, maybe you should transition. Are you 12? Maybe you should transition. But you've all been told a bunch of lies. That's why you're failing in life. That's why you're miserable. Please go get that book. So you say, oh, this is the real world. This is how it works. At least you know the rules of the game and how it works. And now you can start playing for real. This time it'll count. You might put some points on the board. There's the dad you never had. A lot of problems we have here is because you do not have fathers. I don't mean homeless or your dad left home. Where your dad just what do they call it? Not degenerate dad. Deadbeat dad. Sure, you got that, but you got a lot of dads out there. Oh, whatever, sweetheart. Oh my God. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but your mom has a leash and it's got a little collar. I say, why's it got a little collar? Because it goes around your dad's little fucking set of balls where he doesn't have his A. No, she's not going to major in journalism. She's going to major in accounting, and we aren't paying for it otherwise because they're afraid they're going to get divorced. But you guys will learn about that whole marriage and divorce thing later on, huh? Millennials were like, fuck that shit. That's the one lessons millennials did learn. They saw their boomer parents get divorced, and now the marriage rate just went pew. Millennials like, we ain't doing that. I might major in sociology, but I'm dumb enough to major in sociology, but I'm not dumb enough to go get married. So there's a course I have called The Dad You Never Had. It's available at Teachable. Those are the other hard real life. So I guess how not to become a millennial would be book form. Some of the same lessons are kind of covered if you like video form or a classroom form online. The Dad You Never Had, it's available on Teachable. And then what the hell else? Oh, and then I linked to David Cullen's YouTube channel. So you could go ahead and binge on his stuff. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry you don't have a good culture. I'm sorry you have nothing new. And I apologize for my generation for producing, frankly, shit. I mean, at least we got okay cars now. The cars are all right. There was a resurgence. They did have a resurgence of cool cars, Chrysler especially, but then they put an end to their fun cars. We gotta go electric. Let's go to the super chats. Albino, $10. At a park near you, the eunuch with the great nose ring and rainbow jello pool, the Millennial Zoomer Civic Park. Yeah, think about that. Like, no one stopped to tell you, hey, like your dad wasn't around to say, you're getting fat. We're going for runs. No, you're not dyeing your hair blue. No, you're not tatting up your face. How sad is that? Like your dad, you obviously, whether the dad was there or not, it doesn't matter. If you ain't good, look, if you ain't good at dad, you ain't good at dad. You wonder why your daughter, oh, I think I'm a quadriplegic sexual and I hate capitalism. And dad, you're privileged. And every Minnesota father, oh, I'm sorry, dear, you're right. I mean, none of them are happy. It's such, by the way, we all know you're miserable. Knock it off. I'm very happy with my multicolored hair and my tattoos. No, you're not. No, you're not. Burbshide, 5 Australian TikTok brain rot. Yeah, that's another bad one. Liberalism, twerking, and crippling social anxiety is our culture now. A Korean name. I don't know the Korean symbols. 5,000 won. My rent is costly, but staying away from my rich helicopter parents improved me. I need suffering. Pain builds me. Yes. Yes. Here's I hate to keep making it as simple as the Democrats or the Labor Party, depending on what country. Here's all they do. Okay. You want to build muscle, right? I want to build muscle. I want to get jacked. And the Democrats say, we'll lift the weights for you. You just hold on to the bar and we'll take taxpayer money and have these people lift the weight for you. You just hold on. And then you wonder why you're not jacked. You know, it's the same. You need to suffer and do it yourself. The best thing that can happen to a person is they have to support themselves with no help. Not from parents, not from the government. You got to go out there, develop a skill, carve out a living, and then you're like, I'm actually an independent person. And the pride that comes with that, these fake gals with their degrees that need student loan bailouts and mommy and daddy help them with that. I'm a strong, independent one. The fuck you are. You need so much government money and parental money. You're the furthest thing from independent. And it does gnaw at them. I've made girls cry. I know one where I'm like, yeah, if your dad didn't exist, I know you hate men, but the men in your life, you're a fucking parasite. You're a parasite and you desperately are dependent upon men. Yeah, they know. They know. When you like to have a little bit of pride, like, yeah, I didn't take any government money. PJ Cornell, $5. J.S. Bach was unknown for a century. The next great American novel is being written by a white guy who is the subject of daily insult and injury. Yeah, you're not wrong. And well, here's another thing, PJ, whether it be a white guy writing or not, political bias against him or not. Where has anyone alive today been taught class? Has anyone been taught taste? I mean, for God's sake, they have you listening to. I got an advertisement on my YouTube channel for DJ Snake. I had to look. I'm like, what the fuck is this noise? And he paid for ads to be ran on my Google channel, which is fine. And he's actually a successful rapper, but he's over in France. I'm listening to this fucking shit that was fucking fat, ugly people shaking their ass. There's no taste. There's no taste. They will, just like the food, they'll eat slop. Average person today is perfectly fine going down to the 7-Eleven, getting their EBT chicken tendies, putting it in their armpits, and then eating it with their armpit sweat. They'll eat McDonald's. And I do like McDonald's, don't get me wrong, but they don't know, like, how. They don't know why Midnight Run is a great movie. They don't know why all those World War II classic films are awesome. Now, the movies have gotten so bad, people aren't even watching the movies anymore because it's just such shit. But you wouldn't be able to, like, hey, this is really actually good music. What is his name? Jelly Roll? Holy shit, did they have advertised for that guy all over he played at Sturgis. Cappy, did you listen to one of his songs? No, not a single one. Would you be able to name one? No, not a single. Well, then why? So he has fucking tattoos on his face. Fuck this guy. And he's fat. I'm sorry, was it a hard life you had? I'd like to be overweight. What's that like, having more food than you need to eat? What's that like? Freedo Productions, $10. Facts, Cappy, and 20-year-old black male who produced R&B and funk music. I play all the instruments, but I grew up being called an Oreo by my low IQ peers in public schools. Shit is backward. Yeah, well, the black community is a whole other fucking nightmare. There is such an anti-success, anti-individualism, anti-progress mentality. It really is the Borg. And at least the Borg was aggressive. At least they went out to conquer new lands. within the black community is like, sit here and mope and be miserable with the rest of us. And how dare you go and improve yourself? What would be a culture of failure where you worship failure or what's the commiseration? A culture of commiseration. Yeah, and we got, well, you have plenty of black folk here tuning in, but every single one, whether it's Dre or Wisda, they said, fuck this shit. I reject this warped, fucking sick, ultimately damaging culture. I'm going to go out and achieve success or excellence on my own. Well, I wonder which group follows the Democrat talking points to the fucking letter. I wonder who the most ardent religious zealots of the Democrat and party and socialism is in the United. I wonder which group. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder if we're to do some kind of economic analysis, how they're faring. Ghost text, $10. What's worse is even if they didn't live the extraordinary life that would inform adventures like Ian Fleming, they still. Oh yeah, Ian Fleming's another example. Yeah, World War II guy. Wasn't he intelligence? They still won't do the research that fuels sincere understanding of characters and profession. Well, that's your okay. All humans are universally lazy, so I understand that. There is no father to sit them down saying, "Hard way, really hard way." This easy mail it in way, that's the really hard way. The hard way is doing the work up front and doing it right the first time. They don't teach that simple, basic lesson to young people. And so, yeah, you could see it. No, they literally take something that exists before. This is all creators in the United States right now. We add whatever flavor of trait-based politics, DEI, doesn't matter. Then we probably have girl boss. They really do have to mention women. That's a separate kind of special DEI. Then there's always a leftist moral lesson of some kind. And then they pay hacks and shills in the media to write fake reviews about it, and they send out shit. They really think it's a matter of just putting Legos together. You know, Kathleen Kennedy, she's just assembling Legos. Well, I got Luke Skywalker and I got Girl Boss. Maybe there should be a great. It's like this freaking special needs kid made of the world's ugliest Lego creature for you. But she's a 70-odd-year-old woman. You're looking at a 3-year-old idiot child. There you go. Meanwhile, George Lucas sat this the fuck down. He had an idea. I got a great idea for a fictional bit. And I've thought about the character long and hard. And there will definitely be a personality and trials and tribulations this person went through. But I gotta have the time to not do all this shit. They still won't do the research that fuels sincere understanding of characters. Right. And then how can you fall in love with that? I mean, how can you associate with it? How can you fall in love with the character? Like, for example, Frasier, his brother Niles, played by David Hyde Pierce. A ton of thought went into, we got to come up with a very unique character that would be Frasier's younger brother. And came off perfectly. That wasn't just like, well, he's a girl boss. It's a woman transitioning. And she has purple hair. Like it now. How can I like a robot? That's not even a human being. That's just a thing that was told what to do and it followed the instructions according to the Democrat teacher manual. Daddy and a caddy, $2. Yes, Gen Y director Ty West, 89X and Pearl. Gen Y. T West. What's X? I'm up for new stuff. X movie. Horror movie? 2022. I've never heard of it. What's the other one? Pearl. $2022. Okay. Are they worth watching? Are these good movies? I apologize if we would know a wunderkind young director who comes out and delivers something great, kind of like who's the guy that did Clerks? That's what I'm talking about. Now he's my generation. Kevin Smith. All right, where's the Kevin Smith of the Zoomers and the Millennials? We should have seen one or two come out here. And maybe it's still a little bit early and they're on their way. But Kevin Smith wasn't much older than 30 when he came up with Clerks. PJ Cornell, $5. The woke W coast is not communist, but a product of the Frankfurt School. It's a new thing on the planet. It's abominable and fascinating. Well, yeah, the Frankfurt School's been around since 1930s Germany, I believe. A hazmat trucker, $2. Add to your work avoidance list bronc and bull riders. Wait, okay, so you're saying bronc and bull riders who compete, they avoid real work? Because I've seen them out here. They got them out here. We have rodeos. Those look like cowboys who are ranchers. I could be wrong. I don't know the culture. Maybe they are the prima donnas of the ranching world. John Smith, $10. I realized as a teenager when I attempted to write my first serious work that good fiction requires both suffering and experience. Nepo babies experience nothing. Thank you. And that means whether you're a Nepo baby of rich parents or you're the Nepo baby of government checks. If you didn't have to work, you didn't have to suffer. I don't care if you live in Section 8 housing. It's still you're not paying for it. Go work. Have you ever worked 29 hours straight? I have. Do you know what it's like to be sleep deprived? I do. Now, Goblin Girl smut is what sells? Do I want to search that? You know what? I'm just going to not search that. Drew, $2. The new, Matt Walsh. Isn't it Walsh? Matt Walsh movie is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against Matt Walsh. We just disagree on one thing. He's pro-marriage, I'm not. But I hope his movie is doing well. I don't really want to see it because it's just political. And and there's another thing, like, okay, that was a response to all the leftist bullshit going on in the country, but it's not fun. You know, I don't want to see it. Yeah, I know what he's going to say. Okay, yeah, I don't need to see it. Show me a movie. When's the last time you were excited to go see a movie? I was so excited. You know the last time I was excited to go see a movie? Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Because I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I was so excited to see Guardians. I was half tempted to dress up like Rocket Raccoon. I was half tempted. And we watched it, and it was a bunch of sopping wet vagina juice. Are you my dad? Don't die, Dad. Are you my dad? I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? They turned it into this big soppy. And then I didn't see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I didn't care. There was obviously Guardians of the Galaxy 1, okay, admittedly, based on pre-existing lore. The characters, you developed them, you figured them out. And then it's just like, hey, let's have it be a big sob fest. Oh, speaking of somebody who we've walked down similar paths, Athamel Decua, $2. Mexican poops. Thank you very much. And Drew, $2. It really exposed the DEI industrial complex. Oh, it has. I mean, that was always going to be exposed. And many thanks to people like Critical Drinker and David Cullen and Valiant Renegade, especially him. He focuses on the financials. Nerd Rod, all those guys. They have done actual investigative research too. Grums. But, and this is not to lessen the amount of work they've done. It's not like we wouldn't have figured it out. Like when Concord had the ugliest characters ever released, when everyone is turned like the black guy who's a samurai in Japan, and there was no historical document. There was a sword bearer who was a black guy in Japan, Yosuke. No, oh, samurai and chi. Like, no, you just let them do it. One of the biggest exposures, just to show you like how fucked up that whole world is and how out of ideas they are, was Mindy Kalang's version of Thelma, of Scooby-Doo. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. It was horrible. It was just horrible. You got funding for that? Don't tell me you girls aren't privileged. Don't tell me no guy would ever get the money. Hey, you know what? I'm going to just go hate on whatever, Hispanic chicks in a cartoon. We're going to find a cartoon near and dear to all Latinos, right? And we're going to remake it, and we're going to shit all over the female characters. Yeah, no one, and I think what there's, people don't like politics in their fucking fun, period. They don't like leftist politics. They don't like right-wing politics. They don't like religion. We get enough, these fucking, just so y'all know, for all you culture creator type of people, they gotta live in the real world. They got politics shoved up their ass. They got to worry about crime and traffic and all that. They don't need it in their fun. And that would be one thing I'd add. Hey, you want to be a cultural sensation? Bring back hot chicks with big tits. This is why I want to do Trades Gal and the Milfy Avenger, but I need a budget for that. And that'd be a side project. I'd work on my other main project that I'd want to work on, and then I'd have a Western I want to write. I'm not saying we're going to be doing a GoFundMe. I'm just, but if I did have like $2 million where I could stop doing this, not that I'd ever stop it permanently, and I'd have time off where I'm like, okay, now I can focus on this. Yeah, it, the Milfy Avenger alone, I just need a comic book artist. That's all I need. But that's where most of the work is done. The writing is the easy part. It's the drawing, and it's like 80% the artist. That's another problem. I've seen it because I have investigated comic book artists before. Like, okay, I need a comic book artist, and they will literally say it on the profile, no Trump, pronouns, and I'm like, okay, so the Milfy Avenger isn't exactly going to be political, but it would be there'd be some not Democrat talk. I mean, are you going to have an issue drawing a hot Milfy superhero? Probably would. Yes, she will be white. Yes, she will be a redhead. And yes, she will have big tits. And Atham rejoiced. I think we all rejoiced. All right, that's it. Link below to all my stuff. We'll see you guys later, Toodles.